Good evening, everybody, and thanks again to Destination Uri for giving me this opportunity to come on and talk about some of the issues that are happening around the Camlough, Bessbrook, and Durhamore area. Everybody, welcome to 2021. No doubt, 2020 was quite a tough year, and an awful lot of tragic stories and a lot of hardship. But despite all of that, out of all of the grey and the blackness, there was some really, really good things that happened as well. And one of the most outstanding things was just how the community responded, to this crisis, this pandemic. It was absolutely unbelievably, outstanding, some of the work that people did. Far too many really to name, but you're talking about community activists, the local football clubs. You're talking about the nurses, the frontline workers, the guys in the bin lorries. You're talking about everybody and anybody that turned up to work during the most scariest parts of this pandemic, more or less taking, a bit of a risk themselves, putting their own health and life on the line as well, just to ensure that we could help others. It was also brilliant that the departments, were able to respond, financially, and help people out, be it in business or even within the community, help us out with parcels, provide finances, where we could get food vouchers, so there was a great and absolutely brilliant response, from many quarters, and at the end of the day, irrespective of what, we're faced with, the good thing about it is you can depend on, your friends, your family, your community, all the people that are around you, just to pull together. The vast majority of people will do what's needed, and, fair play to everybody. I couldn't commend them all highly enough, including, the politicians. A very, very difficult task for them. But, many of them made sure that they used the departments, got the money out to where it was needed, and, have made decisions that were very difficult and sometimes confusing, but at the same time necessary. So fair play for everybody for playing their part. No doubt we're still, in the thick of this. We're not out of it yet, and, if there's no doubt at all that, people need to pull together and pay heed to the advice that are coming from the medical people, that we need to stay safe, stay at home when you don't need to be out and about, wash your hands, wear your mask, all of that type of stuff, so fair play to everybody. But anyhow, we're into 2021. Obviously, there's not much going on in the sporting world, because, we're still faced with the COVID restrictions. However, over this event I'm going to speak about, it was a charity. It was in aid of raising money for the air ambulance, for the Southern Area Hospice, and for the Fight for Alfie. And it was also in memory of a young woman from Camlough who was tragically killed in a road traffic accident in 2020, Kira McKinley. And I remember Kira. I knew Kira myself. She used to do a bit of part-time work in the town bar. A friend of mine worked in that bar at that particular time as well, so I was in and out. So I got to know her. Such a friendly, happy-go-lucky, smart, good-looking girl, and it was such a tragedy. And the family, in fairness, have got together, just to make sure that her memory is kept alive. And they organised with quite a number of people from the locality the event, which eventually took place. It was supposed to take place on New Year's Eve, but obviously with the weather, it was postponed to the following day. So at 7:15, the locals were up on Camlough Mountain, and there was a fireworks display. And, again, I'd like to commend everybody that was involved in that, from the family right down to, the likes of Bootsy Fern and his crew. They were up, I think they were up for 4 hours. Terry Boyle had to send his St. Bernard up with a flask of brandy just to help the lads out. There was also Paddy Smith, Gavin McKeown, John Mooney, Pat Noy up taking the photographs. There was a whole team of people. And then on the ground, you had the local clubs, providing their car parks, for people to drive in and do, take a look at the display. Others, like myself, were able to watch it from the comfort of our own home. You also had Safe Fuels, in fairness, open the car park as well. So fair play to Cara Krupp and Shane O'Neill's, everybody that was involved in that. And to the best of my knowledge, they raised in the region of £12,000. So again, absolutely brilliant for the people of the area that made the contribution. And these things wouldn't happen unless people pulled together. So brilliant events. fair play to the family, fair play to everybody that helps, and it's great that it's in memory of one of our own, Kieran McKinley. Okay, I'd like to move on, and this is something that is affecting everybody at the minute. That's part of the fireworks display. So obviously the bins. Okay, so there's a number of things happening at the moment that is affecting the collection of the bins. Obviously, we had the holidays, so that was one day that was taken off the normal routine. So that had to be made up for. Then we had the ice and the icy conditions, and unfortunately, there's been no let up in that. So bin lorries, they need to be extra careful when they're going into estates and going up hills and stuff like that there. So unfortunately, sometimes that is going, and it did this time, impact on the collection of bins. And you also have work to rule that's going on at the moment. That is council employees on a work to rule for better terms and conditions and pay, which obviously affects the guys in the bin lorries as well. So there's a whole combination of things that unfortunately has impacted on the collection of the bins. So some estates, some houses, are still waiting for the black bin to be collected. The last we heard from the council was that they were going to prioritise the collection of black bins. Obviously, that might have a bit of an impact on the blue bins, but certainly the black bins need to be picked up fairly quickly. People are just going to have to be patient and just keep your bin on the curbside and, just hope for the best. You've also got COVID that is having an impact on this. And it's not just on the drivers or the collectors, but it's also on the crew that fix the bin lorries. So there's a whole raft of things that are happening that are negatively impacting on the collection of the bins. So we all just have to sort of wee bit of patience, pull together, and hope for the best. Okay, another issue and again, this is something that is very much to the fore at this particular time of the year, is the fact that rural roads are in a serious condition at the moment. Obviously, with the ice, etc., the erosion in the winter, it just seems to be exacerbated, because of the weather conditions. But roads are the responsibility of the Department for Infrastructure. So the department itself, obviously, the road service works under that, and you have a minister who is responsible, has overall responsibility, right? So it's down to their budget. They will have to decide what way they spend that budget. We are saying very, very clearly that everything just can't be fired into the big major urban areas, that the rural roads have been neglected for long enough. And, at the end of the day, this is impacting on our lives. We live in country areas, we pay our taxes, so we're as entitled to the proper services just like anybody else. So there's a big call out at the moment, for more investment in rural roads. The other aspect of the roads, and this unfortunately is beyond any minister, but is obviously the fact that, as I said before, we went through a very cold phase at the moment. This is impacting on the condition of the roads, and obviously they're very icy, etc. Some of the roads are gridded, so there is a criteria at the minute, that will determine, certain roads are gridded, but unfortunately there's other roads that aren't. Now, I can understand, budgets are tight and stuff like that, and some people, unfortunately, they live way out the sticks. You might even be able to get a gridder up into some of the roads, but there's other areas that certainly do, I think, qualify, for the gridder that aren't being gridded. So again, that's something that we're going to have to step up and put the pressure on the department, to reconsider, just, all of the roads that are being left off. Like some of the roads, particularly in rural areas where there's schools, there's no excuse why a road that leads to a school way should not be gridded. In my own area, one of the roads in particular is Ballinaby. If you go up the Quarter Road, it's gridded. You go off by Ballinaby, heading over towards Bessbrook, towards St. Joseph's School, towards a villa nursing home, towards, there's about 4 or 5 different places of worship. You have the pharmacy at the bottom of the hill, and try to get around that bend at Ballinaby and get a lorry up there, and there's a high density of houses, so there's quite a population live up there, so that should qualify, so there is no doubt, as a councillor, I will be certainly helping to put the pressure on the department to reconsider, the the amount of roads that they are currently gridding, and we will be depending on everybody to row in behind that campaign. So again, as you can see just from the photograph, there is some areas where the salt boxes, the salt bins have been installed, but there's other places. I've been contacted, for example, Acorn Hill. I've been in contact with the road service this morning to try and get salt bins in there. Also Carrick-Shane, and in some areas where the salt bins are, it's just to get them replenished. Now, if anybody feels that's where they live, there's a need for either a salt bin or a salt bin to be replenished, please let me know. I know, for example, I was speaking to one of the lads out in White Cross in the Ballymore Road, and there's grits, in fairness, has been put along the side of the road, and he's been very busy, ensuring that the grit is dispensed off, on nights like tonight or like last night. Because at the end of the day, an awful lot of people that travel, while it still is icy, are the people that are going to work in the hospitals, the frontline services, so we have to take them into consideration. A colleague of mine, unfortunately, coming home from work just a few nights ago, and took a back road heading over to her parents' house, and the next thing the car went into a slide and toppled twice. Fortunately, she wasn't injured, but she was trapped. But she was able to ring emergency services, and in fairness, they were out fairly quickly and rescued her from her own vehicle. So it is an issue. As I say, we are taxpayers. We are entitled to this. But we need to speak up and demand, what we're entitled to and demand our rights. Okay, another issue I'd like to speak about, and I've mentioned this before, and it's Darramore. As I said, we did campaign for quite a number of years to try and to ensure that there was a proper play park, proper amenities, proper toilets, etc., put into the Darramore estate. It's somewhere that people would normally walk, take the dogs and all of that as well, take the family too. So all of that effort, was put in by many people, be it the Friends of Darramore, the National Trust, the council, etc., etc. And the money was got. We have contractors in; they're doing their best to try and put the park together. But yet again, and this only happened last night, Tuesday night, we had 3 or 4 young fellas, from the area come in. There is a new toilet block being built right beside Darramore House, and there's wooden cladding on it, just to make it look pleasing to the eye, and to blend in with the environment as well. And unfortunately, there was an attempt last night to burn that. So every aspect of this project has been attacked, and it's the same handful of people. So the PSNI, are on the job. We have a local neighbourhood watch that is on the job, but there is absolutely no doubt about it. These people are not coming from Mars; they are local. There is other young people in the area who's doing it. The only way we're going to get this stopped is by making sure that somebody provides us with the information. So we will be appealing, and I'm appealing through this medium, for people to come with that information in order for us to put a stop to this before it gets worse, or before we lose the contractors or lose the finance. And at the end of the day, we will be stepping it up within the community to try and ensure that we find out who is responsible for this. But the more information that we have, obviously, the better. And so I'm appealing tonight for people to come forward with that information. This has the potential to be an absolutely fantastic project for this generation and future generations. And it's an awful shame that maybe 3 or 4 people could be responsible for closing that down. And we're back to square one. Okay, I'd like to now mention, and this is I did mention in December about the centenary events, particularly for the Camlough area, Camlough, the attack on the barracks, and also the ambush at the Egyptian Arch. So out of all of the events that were pulled together, a book has been published. So you can see that's the ad for it there. It is only £5. So if anybody wants a copy, will you please let me know? There's obviously a limited edition, so and it's going off the shelf fairly quickly. So this is an opportunity for people to get a wee bit of a look at their own local history. The beauty of this is a lot of the content is actually from the people that were there on the day. It's their accounts. Their accounts were placed with the Southern Military Bureau in the 1950s. And we've been able to access that. and publish it. So it is first-hand accounts. So if anybody wants a copy, just contact myself and we'll get it to you. Difficult to get these books to people because of the COVID restrictions and stuff, but even if we have to put it in the post, that's what we'll do. Okay, so that's the other thing is this is on the 10th of this month. It's the anniversary of the centenary anniversary of the killing of Sean Dorn. Sean Dorn was a young fella, 27 years of age, lived on the Kega Road. He was taken out of the family home by the Black and Tans, taken down to the bottom of the lane, and he was shot dead by the Black and Tans. His sister, 28-year-old Mary Ann Kearney, she came to his assistance. She was shot as well. Mary Ann Kearney died in July then of 1921. So we are going to put a plaque up in the Centenary Garden. We'll wait until the anniversary of his sister, Mary Ann Kearney, and obviously we'll make sure that people are aware of, it'll probably be around, the date that she died. It is sometime in July once I get the exact date, and we'll let people know about that event as well. Okay, so a few birthdays. I'd like to give out a shout to people. Right, so Patricia Keenan. Patricia, front row, second from the left. And Patricia, it's her birthday. I think it was her birthday this week. She is definitely younger than me, but I remember her back in the day when we were all kids going to the likes of Clog and that. I would have known a lot of her friends. And, so a big happy birthday to Patricia Keenan. Okay, the next one on my list is Fiona Johnson. As you can see, Fiona is 1, 2, 3, third from the left. And not too sure what age Fiona is. She's still a young woman anyway. So big happy birthday to Fiona, and I hope you had a brilliant day as well. And my goodness, this must be one of the coolest guys from around Camlough. That's Larry McCabe. So if you're not from Camlough, you might know him as one of the taxi guys, around the town in Newry. He does the run from Newry to Camlough and all over the place as well. So again, it's Larry's birthday. I'm not too sure what age Larry is. He doesn't look too old anyway. Looks fairly fit of himself. He's one of the Pat McGinn's walking buddies, so a big happy birthday to Larry and fair play. Next on the list then is the boy Liam Bradley. So there's Liam. Liam, again, a guy from originally from the Green Road, and Green Road man at heart, so it's his birthday tomorrow. And again, I can't disclose his age, but he's definitely younger than me. Okay. So last but not least on the birthday list, this is Theresa McCullough. This is Damien's wife, and it's her birthday also. So a big happy birthday to Theresa. I think maybe it was yesterday. And, so that's one of my neighbours from the Quarter Road. So happy birthday, Theresa. So I'd like to end with, it's an engagement. You can get it up there, Cal. Yes, Maeve Madden. And this is a niece of my own. She is a Keep Fit influencer, and she was engaged on New Year's Eve, I think. Yep. And as you can see, that's what some people call, I think, Kodak Corner. So that's down by the Clockmore Stone, looking out over Carlingford Bay. So absolutely delighted for Maeve to be engaged to Andrew Selby as her boyfriend from quite a number of years. And they came home from London for the holidays, a big occasion, so it's a great lift for the family, and they're away back to London. So fair play to Maeve, and congratulations, and no doubt you deserve it, and no doubt you'll have many, many happy years ahead of you. So, Cathal, that's more or less it for today. And again, thanks to everybody that has been, of help in 2020, including yourselves at Destination Newry. We've had a great support from, as I said before, from the community. And, just hopefully that will continue on into 2021 and the years ahead. So from me tonight, all is Ihawai August Slangafai.